Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 311 Griffin YouTube channel. This video is showing off a livery that I've created for a car in Forza 7, and that car happens to be the number 911 Absolute Racing Porsche from the 2020 Bathurst 12 Hours. Now, this car and its sister car, the 912, which was kind of the same except instead of yellow it was green, they won, in my opinion, the best livery of the race, hands down. Absolutely beautiful liveries. As I was watching the race, I thought, man, I'd like to make one of these for Forza. And I picked this one because I'm a big fan of Matt Campbell. And he's a great driver, and they all are. They're all super talented drivers, but Matt Campbell set the pole for the 2020 Bathurst race in this car, and did a great job driving it. Now, because of a puncture and some penalties and things like that, they weren't quite in it by the end of the race, but they normally are. And I really enjoy watching the Porsches because, especially in the Bathurst, they tend to be in it at the beginning, and they go on kind of a fuel and tire saving strategy, and they seem to fall back, but they're always in it by the end of the race, as long as they don't have any accidents or huge penalties or anything like that. So they weren't quite in it this year, but they did a great job. The teams did a great job. The 912 was kind of in the mix, or at least had a chance, but this particular car, the 911, was not. Now, this is not the exact car. This is a 2017 spec RSR, and I think the car that was actually in the race was a 2019 GT3. And this was the closest car to it that I had in my stable there in Forza 7, so it's the one that I started making it on. Now, going back a little bit, one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of Matt Campbell's is from the 2019 Bathurst 12 Hours, and if you haven't seen that, spoiler alert, I'm about to talk about it a little bit. But first, before I do want to mention that I have tuned this car, and I just kind of borrowed a tune and then tweaked it. I don't have it set up exactly the same, but this is from a YouTuber named, I think it's Azza 8585. It's AZZA space 85 space 85. And I didn't download the tune, I just looked up his YouTube video, and I'll link it down below. There's also a Bentley tune in there that you can use, and I've used them both and they're great. This particular car, for me, it's a little different than his, but it's pretty close, and I do have it where it oversteers a little bit, but that's kind of because I sort of like them to be snappy and oversteer a bit. It's not too bad, but anyway, it does just a touch, but it's pretty planted and it's pretty quick. So I really like the tune. Anyway, go check that out. I definitely want to give credit there because I didn't tune this car. I do some light tunes to cars to get them to be a little bit more responsive, but I don't go through the trouble of tuning until I get the absolute best lap that I can. If I really want a car to be good, I'll look up a good tune and try it out. And in this case, I think I found a good one. So go check that out. I think a combination of this livery, if you download my livery, and that tune, if you follow that tune, I think it's a great combination. I think you'll have a lot of fun driving it. So anyway, let's go back to the 2019 Bathurst 12 Hours, and again, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you about it. So if I were you, I'd go find the video that's the last 20 minutes of the race and watch that because it was awesome. And just like I was talking about earlier, the Porsches kind of were towards the front at the beginning, and then they kind of backed off, saved their tires, saved their fuel, didn't take as many pit stops. And the 912 was right back in the mix at the end of the race. And with 20 minutes left, it was in second place with Matt Campbell behind the wheel. And in front was Jake Dennis in the 62 Aston Martin. And the Aston had some fairly worn out tires, and the Porsche was pretty fresh. But as you know, if you follow racing at all, it's kind of hard to pass on Bathurst, especially if you're quick along the top of the mountain, but you're trying to get around a big, powerful, torquey vehicle. So the Aston doesn't really need great tires to go fast down the mountain or up the mountain straight. If you're going down Conrad or up the mountain straight, you can be pretty quick, and your tires don't matter as much. And so the Porsche was having a lot of trouble passing. You just couldn't get around them on the straights. And up in the twisty bits, it's really hard to pass. There's not a great chance to pass. And with right at 9 minutes left, Jake Dennis got a little wide at the Forest elbow, and he left a space between him and the inside wall that was not quite big enough for a Porsche to go through, and Matt Campbell went through it anyway and never looked back. He had to defend a couple of times, but got back up to the top of the mountain and was pretty much gone and won the race. So it was just a really stellar pass. Great driving. There was a little bit of contact side to side, but Matt Campbell did a really good job of driving, and Jake Dennis was just absolutely stellar on the sportsmanship. Didn't try to block him or anything like that. There wasn't a whole lot he could do at that point, but I think his tires were a little splashy. But very good sportsmanship, and didn't ruin either of their races by trying to keep him from going around. So it was just great job by the teams and the drivers and all that. And so I was a Matt Campbell fan, and that kind of sealed the deal, and made me an even bigger Matt Campbell fan. And then when he set pole this year, I was pretty excited about this car. Didn't wind up winning or even hitting the podium, but I still think it's a great livery, and I think it's a great team, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. So that's that. This is the first pretty complex livery I've done. It's not exact because the car is different and there are layer limitations. I maxed out the roof layer and had to delete some lesser importance layers so that I could fit in the ones that I really wanted to, but it's maxed out. The sides are almost maxed out. One of the bumpers is nearly maxed out. There are 7,600 layers on this car, and it took quite a few hours and a lot of attention to detail. I've tried to get it as close as I can. Again, it's not even near exact, but I try to get it pretty close, and I hope you enjoy it. So let me know if you use it and if you like it. And until next time, happy driving, stay safe.